なアルとマイクみたいになりたい。でも電話してくれない。オークランドとブックレンドから世界チャンピオンバーチャルプローズ始まるよ。バーチャルプローズ。
To my motherfucking man, 50 grand, the alcoholic man, inject a tall can in his bloodstream if he can. Biggie Smalls, the stroker, MC provoker, chocolate tie smoker, huh? I like to max and Maximas and Acuras. Your girl butt cheeks, I'm smacking, huh? The raw rapper, spine snapper with the little, cause on my lap, a shot, but I ain't your fucking comforter. And if I ever fall in love, I bet I'm fucking her. Ask the if I didn't choke her. If she try to front, then I drop the Chucky Booker.
Episode 37 of the Virtual Pros podcast. My name is Al, a.k.a. Henny Omega, a.k.a. Flocka Michinoku, a.k.a. Two-Phone Scorpio, a.k.a. the human Tino Sabatelli theme. And with me, the other half of the Bread Hunters, the other half of the Holy Scheming Army, my BK Oos, Mike.
Hey, motherfuckers, it is Mike, a.k.a. Dr. Swagner Jr., a.k.a. Takoyaki Hanma, a.k.a. the Don Dada Super Cat Ernie Ladd, a.k.a. Steel Gold Steam Odin. That last one is in the celebration of Fire Pro coming out.
Oh, shit, I'm so excited. Today's episode, the second installment of Virtual Pros, rebranding is here. What would happen if professional wrestling gave us the pencil? Again. Hit us on Instagram and Twitter at VRTLPros. Hit us on SoundCloud, hit that heart. You know I like it. Hit us on iTunes, leave a review, and if you want to email us, please do so at virtualpros64@gmail.com. We got maybe one or two emails. Do you mind starting off, Mike?
Yeah, I got a couple. Let's see. The first one is from Harpo, I believe.
Oh, yeah, Harpo.
Yeah, it's a possible two-man scramble topic. Hey guys, listener Harpo here. I gotta ask, what is the biggest what the fuck wrestling moment you've witnessed live and in person? For me, it's a show I would bet money Al also attended. The July 4th, 2005 Raw and SmackDown Super Show at Arco Arena in Sacramento, California. This is the show best known for HBK turning on Hulk Hogan, but that wasn't even the most shocking thing that happened that night. The first weird thing was JBL getting punished for caving in the Blue Meanie's fat fucking face at the end of that shitty ECW One Night Stand pay-per-view by losing a match to him. Keep in mind, by the time this happened, the show was already over 3 hours long. Those Raw SmackDown Super shows are a fucking slog. The energy anyone had left was blown as soon as HBK super kicked Hogan, so the collective response to JBL getting pinned by a rotund dude in a half shirt was basically 15,000 people doing the shrug emoji. And even that wasn't the weirdest shit of the night. The same show also had the 12-star classic Undertaker-Daivari match where Taker won and then got strangled in an Al-Qaeda shout-out spot where a bunch of masked terrorists attacked him and did a simulated beheading on July 4th in America. This was the weirdest thing I've ever witnessed live, and the entire crowd didn't even have the strength to shit on it. People just grabbed their shit and started to leave despite the fact that the main event was still yet to happen. Anyway, I figure between the two of you, you've seen some shit. Peace, Harpo, a.k.a. the Crack Superman, Jabroni Atlas, a.k.a. Chocolate Tie Grillinger, a.k.a. Old E. Anderson. I haven't honestly seen that much weird stuff, or that at least I could remember, although I was thinking about this the other day. When I was little, like, it was whatever, I'm pretty sure it was around the time Sergeant Slaughter became a bad guy. I went to wrestling, and I can't remember. It had some combination of either Sergeant Slaughter, Macho Man, and Ultimate Warrior. I think it might have just been Sergeant Slaughter versus Macho Man. I can't really remember. But I know Sherry was there, but I think Macho Man only had Sherry when he was a bad guy. Either way, I've seen like a bunch of these matches, and I'm fucking little. I don't remember the stuff, but there's a cage match, and a fan like climbed up the cage, and he had like a poster tube in his hand, and he just like started beating on, I think he started beating on Slaughter.
Oh shit.
And, you know, like, they just fucking washed them super quick. Like, the security came in and just, you know, handled it. But, like, I remember when I was little, it was so weird because even though, like, we're adults now, and even back then I knew wrestling was fake, but, like, I still had, like, kind of an illusion in my head that it was kind of hard to climb up and down those cages. But, like, seeing, like, a regular-ass man do it in, like, literally 2 seconds just ruined that forever for me. So that maybe wasn't weird, but it was definitely very eye-opening at the time when I was a little kid.
I haven't seen anything that weird. I mean, I saw Io Shirai turn live. That was not weird, but I mean, I saw it happen. Like, I've seen stuff that, like, is kind of, like, iconic. Like, I saw HBK retire.
Yeah.
I saw Zayn Nakamura, but, like, nothing weird. But I will say that Arco Arena had the weirdest shit, like, happen at, that stadium. Like, do you remember when CM Punk elbowed that fan? Because like fan like elbow. So that dude went to my high school and he was a total shithead. And so when we saw CM Punk like fucking like just deck him, we were super happy. His name is Charles. Like I used to watch that kid all the time on the basketball courts. And so when we saw him like a couple years later, like, and that happened to him, it was amazing. But yeah, nothing weird has happened to me like when I've been like there live in attendance. The next email, we got some Virtual Bros emails. That's pretty nice. From Cole, I guess. All right. He writes in, the topic is reversal. He writes in, I've got a couple questions about the Japanese clothing company Reversal, / RVDDW. I've seen Cassius Ohno wear some hats from them. Hot Sauce, he has a rash guard that he's worn at Evolve, and I think Hideo Itami is basically sponsored by them. Is the brand relatively popular within the pro wrestling community? If so, do you guys know how / why it got popular? Also, if either of you guys have ever owned some of their stuff, what would you rate it in terms of quality? Their designs are great, but if it's not comfy and well made, I'm not going to mess with it. Thanks. Keep up the great work. You guys are the best podcast out there, but you already knew that. Yeah, we know. Cole, aka Rexy Joey P, aka Cassius Outside, aka Hash Chisako, aka the Notorious BB. I get that the X is silent, but I'm trying my best here with this whole nickname deal. I haven't bought any Reversal shit. I know they did like this Minoru Suzuki, Tribe Called Quest, like Midnight Marauder shirt. That was pretty cool. But I'm guessing the shirts that they use are pretty thick. And if you do buy a shirt from them, you should probably size up. But if the question is, do I know how they got popular? Probably because their designs aren't trash, and that's pretty remarkable for a wrestling clothing company. Have you seen these designs before?
Yeah, but I think they're more MMA. I just think the wrestling dudes that are into that lifestyle are into this stuff, because I know it started as like an MMA thing, but either way, outside of that, I know it's just beyond my wheelhouse. Like, I have no interest in any of this shit. I see people wear it, but like I said, I thought it was more of like an MMA, like BJJ thing.
Yeah, I think listener Joel, he bought a Hideo Itami shirt, and he learned the hard way about Japanese sizing. So, Cole, just take our word for it. Just size up. Trust us. I think we're ready for two-man scramble now. Jarrett's the guy who wrote the Virtual Bros question, so we'll get to that. So, I mean, we can if you want. We can just get to that some other day, but I didn't want to like leave him hanging if he wanted to hear his name on the podcast or something. Yo, Jarrett, you have some amazing questions, and I will touch upon them on episode 2 of the Virtual Bros. Which, by the way, I've been pretty shocked about the response. It is by far the most played episode we've ever put out, and I guess we got to do it again. I guess the pilot was that good.
Yeah, I think it's just mostly because people that I promote to that don't want to listen to wrestling shit are just like, oh, he's not talking about wrestling shit. So yeah, I think I got a little extra plays. Also, I want to give a good day made out to Scott, who
saw that.
Who made my morning one morning when I woke up, and he just sent me photos of the new Tim Tam flavors in Australia. And it really, like, even though I can't taste them, Scott, it fucking super made my day, man. You don't even know. Like, I was thinking about that shit all day, just like, man, this is like the coolest thing. Like, I've done some cool shit, and I just like don't even ever think about it, but getting photos of new Tim Tam flavors in the email is pretty sweet.
I've never had a Tim Tam before, but this salted caramel and vanilla one kind of has me interested. They look pretty delicious. So we'll get into two-man scramble right now. I'm going to start off kind of hot. Maybe not. But, I was on the Instagram today, and then I saw that someone had posted, I forgot which wrestler it was. Maybe I wouldn't want to say their name anyway. But I guess there's this company called Wrestling Parties, which is a phrase that I would use jokingly probably if I had people come over to watch wrestling. They put a post out, and I guess I'll read it to you guys. It's called Party Mania. And, the company's wrestling parties, like I said, they're throwing a massive online party during WrestleMania. Dozens of your favorite wrestlers will be in attendance. interacting with you. This is in all caps in red, live during and after the pay-per-view. Plus, we'll be taking tips and donations for special quests from the wrestlers as we raise money for a great charity. There will be an open bar and things will get crazy. I'm okay with like doing things for charity, but I can't imagine, a sadder time than like paying to watch people have fun. Like, yes. My guess is they're gonna have like some webcam set up at a bar and people will like drop in and talk to people. Like, I know what the answer is, but like, would you ever do this, Mike, for anything or like for any type of like industry? I don't know.
No, that's like
crazy
the saddest.
to me.
Yeah, that's like the saddest WrestleMania. Even when they do that, those kind of those things at theaters, I forget the name of what they call it.
Oh,
they have those special events where it's like a concert or, you know, something like that. And you go to the theater and you watch it. Like, even that, I'm just like, no way, man. That's weird. And that's like that's still with like other people, but you're paying like, you're not paying like theater prices. You're paying a little more than a regular theater, like a regular movie. So you're paying like $30-40 or whatever, sit in a room with a bunch of strangers in a movie theater and pretend that you're somewhere live. And that's just like, I don't know, like back in the day when that was the only option, it made sense, but doing that at home on your computer for wrestling is the absolute saddest. That is just get like, I don't know, man, just take some classes on social.
I think the thing for me is like the part where they're saying, hey, we'll be taking some special requests for money. Is it going to be like my free cams where you're like paying wrestlers to like kiss? Like, I don't understand what the angle is. It's fucking incrable.
Yeah, if
they make some money, oh my God.
This sounds like a scam written all over it. Like, who would care if it's an open bar? Like, an open bar for us? Like, it's not an open bar for us. It's an open bar for people who are getting free alcohol anyways. This is a scam.
Yeah, Party Mania sounds fucking trash. My next topic is, Glory Pro. They recently threw their first event and, I was looking through the results and, one name stuck out to me and it was Kobe Durst. Do you think this is a real name or a fake name?
It has to be fake. I mean, he's a wrestler.
So I looked it up and like, I saw the IMDb and it said Kobe Durst. So it kind of had me wondering, like, if this is a real name, like, I can only imagine the dad, like, wearing, like, a pinwheel hat, like, knocking up, like, Kobe Durst's mom. Like, this is the most, like, 2002 name of all time. It'd be like if I were to have a kid in, like, 2002 and, like, I were to name him, like, LeBron Mathers. Like, Kobe Durst has to be the worst fucking name, like, I've ever seen in wrestling. What do you think?
Well, yeah, supposedly, I guess maybe this is his real name. He's only 21.
Yeah.
So it fits perfectly.
Yeah, it matches up.
Yeah, so that sucks for you, man. This is your chance to change your name. You're a wrestler. Just use a different name if that's not really your name.
Yo, if you don't come out wearing a backwards red Yankees hat, you're not doing it right.
Yeah.
If you're listening, I'm giving you a hard time, but I mean, yikes, that's a crazy
You live
name.
your dream, Kobe Durst. You do it.
My next topic is Io Shirai versus Shayna Baszler. What'd you think?
That was pretty good. Yeah, I watched I watched Io Shirai's match with Taya, who's another favorite of mine, like, when that happened.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? This kind of sucks. And not, like, in a bad way, but just, like, I think, like, Io Shirai's, like, so next level compared to Taya. So I was kind of like, I mean, Shayna Baszler's good, but she's not been wrestling for, like, a long time or anything. So I was like, maybe this will be kind of like that. But it was pretty good. It was a lot shorter than I expected, but, you know, it was still pretty good.
Yeah, I thought it was really good. I'm gonna attach my my wagon to the Shayna Baszler train here. Like, I think she's really solid, and the fact that, like, she did MMA, and so, like, her whole moveset looks very realistic. So, if you have Stardom World, check it out. My last one is kind of an announcement. The big guy Ryback is in the Bay Area this month at Big Time Wrestling, and ringside is sold out. General admin is $15. So I think I might show up. So if you guys want a little precursor to VRTLCON, I may or may not be there. Also appearing, I think he's wrestling Chris Masters in the main event. Cool. And Jade from TNA is going to be there. Also Carlito. So if you want to go to Newark and hang out, maybe I'll be there.
That sounds terrible.
That's all I had.
Okay. I guess let's see. I'll start off with VRTLCON 2017. Speaking of, is coming up soon, guys.
Yeah, we booked our tickets.
Yes, May 6th in Chicago, AAW. is doing a wrestling event. I don't know what it's called. I don't know if they have titles. It is at the Logan Square Auditorium, I believe, which is in Bucktown. And we'll be there, me and Al together.
Yeah.
And as long as my friends and maybe some of Al's friends and maybe hopefully some listeners, as long as you're not a fucking weirdo.
Oh, man.
You know, I'm just saying, don't be weird. Just be normal. Be cool, man. If you have any recommendations for Chicago stuff to do, let us know. We'll be in town Friday and Saturday, so just hit us up. We are aiming to get front row tickets, so if you want the real VIP experience, you're gonna probably also aim to get front row tickets, but that's up to you.
Yeah, I've been looking for like food places to eat at, and I kind of made the mistake of asking Twitter where I should go eat because I forgot that there was an argument between Salisbury steak and meatloaf. So I was like, no, I'm not going to get a real answer here. But if you have any recommendations on pizza, HMU, hit me up.
Yeah, I did some research and Pequod seems to be the consensus favorite to go. And they serve Malort, which is a gross Chicago shot that we used to do on Kissing Contest a lot.
Oh, that's right. I'm going to have to do it. I think Friday. Saturday, I'm not going to turn up too hard because I don't want that Sunday flight to be awful. So Friday night, it's Cinco de Mayo. Let's get buck if you're in town.
Yeah. I'm going to say I'm not going to turn up too hard on Saturday, but it really depends on how expensive the beers are at this place we're going to. Cause I heard that they just give you buckets like of a 6-pack and that's like my style when it comes to wrestling. So.
Man.
So I'm probably going to get a little trashed. Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. First up in Mike's lady wrestling news, because I always like to have some lady wrestling news every episode. My favorite wrestler is named Francesca. If you've never been paying attention to the show, she's my favorite woman wrestler. Mm-hmm. She wrestles for Reina, and I've never seen her wrestle, but I just love her tweets so much. I think, after examining her tweets, I think she works at a hostess club. We just played Yakuza 0, so it's fresh on my mind, and like I think she has all of the I spend a lot of time in the hostess simulation part of Yakuza 0, if you're familiar. That's all I do is I just play that until I conquer it. So yeah, I think she has all the signs of a hostess. So, I mean, if I ever go to Japan, I can maybe pay to drink drinks with Francesca. So that's pretty cool.
I'll just confirm it for you right now. I think she's tweeted in Arabic. So yeah, dude, she works in that industry. No judgments, but yeah, man, if you go to Japan, it's probably going to happen if you do go to the hostess route.
Yeah, because she posted some flyer that she was in a modeling or a fashion show, and it was like a $50 ticket to get in, and I was like, fuck off. Like, that is some fucking shady shit. That's like a hostess thing. Yeah, and other lady wrestling news, this is Stardom news. I think when I watched that, it might have been before. Yeah, I think it was before the Io Shirai Shayna Baszler match. Whatever the last time I watched Stardom before then was, there was a new Gaijin wrestler to debut who was a younger girl in a cheerleader outfit. And, as soon as I saw her, I was like, I wonder how long it's going to take for Al to add her to our Instagram. And I think from like the moment I saw her, which I believe was like, pretty timely with her debut. It was like, it was within 7 days, I believe, where I was like scrolling through and I was like, oh, there she is. Okay.
No comment.
Yeah. I don't know that girl's name, but I just knew by looking at her. Yeah, skip that. In lieu of Fire Pro, World coming out, do you think wrestlers make themselves in video games?
For fucking sure. So I know back in the day when Fire Pro G dropped, like Stevie Richards was like, I think he may have dropped like the formula for himself.
Yeah.
And so like, I think these days, like with the wrestlers playing video games more and more, they for sure are going to make themselves, when this game drops. No doubt.
It's one thing to just make yourself, but like it's another thing when you're dropping like on GameFAQs the Fire Pro formulas. For you young people, the way you created characters back then is like people would like post these 7-page long formulas. So the fact that like an actual wrestler that was in his prime at the time was doing that is ridiculous.
Yeah, like, you gotta be some sort of asshole to think you can figure out your own logic and shit. Like, what? Get off your high horse. That's incredible. But I don't know, kinda cool. Who knows?
Also, my last subject is, I was thinking about this. When wrestlers do meet and greets,
Yeah.
Like, you know, WWE wrestlers, not bullshit wrestlers, not bullshit in that way, but you know, like meet and greets at an indie show are like mandatory. WWE meet and greets are like you're paying like $100 for it.
Yeah.
When they do that, like how much of the gifts that they get from fans and stuff do you think goes like immediately in the trash? Just like immediately. Like they get it and it's just like 10 minutes later it's in the garbage.
Like a percentage? Maybe half? I don't know. I would think that some people would come with that fire if they're trying to gift their favorite wrestler something.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think it's like 99%, just like all in the garbage. Like they might take pictures of stuff that little kids gave them so they can post on Twitter.
Yeah.
I honestly think like very few things are leaving that venue with the wrestler. I think it's maybe like t-shirts here and there or stuff of value, maybe like iPods.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think your little like doll you made them is just going right in the trash. So if you, this is just my PSA. If you were over, you know, some age and you're making like dolls for wrestlers, they're probably going to throw it in the trash, man. So if you're not a kid, just, you know, give them an iPod. They'll probably want it more.
Yeah, I'm actually thinking I'm taking that 50% back. I bet they get a lot of fan art, and I don't think Roman Reigns cares about your art, so that's probably getting chucked.
I mean, it's not even like because he hates it. It's just more like the logistical thing of like, you know, they're doing these things at least 50 times a year.
Right.
You figure they're getting at least 10 items per fit. Like that is so much shit. Like no one's saving that.
All right. Say you were to bring like your favorite wrestler a gift. Who would that wrestler be? And what would you bring him?
I would bring Asuka something and it would be me sniffing her hair, but I don't know. I don't know if that's a gift she wants, but you know.
I'm going to come back next episode with my answer. I think that was it.
Yeah, that's it.
Up next, the second installment of VRTL Rebrand is here. What would happen if professional wrestling gave us the pencil? Again. Please stay tuned.
Something just happened, cause I'm feeling like an addict. Ooh, give it to me 3, 2, like magic. I don't feel any pressure right now, no. Body by you right now, no. Body by you right now, so allow me to demonstrate. Boy, it's a little too late. The groove hit me so hard that I just could not refuse. Baby, can you feel it? I can feel it too. Hop on my fantasy ride. Tonight our planets collide. If you let me, give me a vibe, feeling the vibe. No, I'm feeling some type of way. You got me so. You got me so. Give me a vibe, feeling the vibe. No, I'm feeling some type of way. You got me so. You got me so.
And we're back with episode 37 of the Virtual Pros podcast. We're doing a sequel to the Rebrand episode that was so poppin'. I guess I'm gonna preemptive strike myself. I know Mike is gonna fucking wash me on this segment. But I'll let you guys know that I worked fairly hard on these. So, I know you're gonna see Mike's mind at work here and it's gonna be pretty crazy, but I think I have at least 3 solid ones. So I guess I'll lead off. I made this joke on Twitter before, but I think it's my strongest idea. And it's, for Tony Nese. And I think he should go by Pretty Dece Tony Nese. Win or lose, he's just focused on finding the best deals posted on the internet. He's like a good looking guy. Like he's in incredible shape, but like he has nothing going for him. So I feel like with characters, you have to have them have some sort of like, I don't know if limitation is the word, but like, you gotta have him have some sort of weakness. He can't be perfect. And so maybe you can like include like WWE shop codes, like with his Titantron video to make people excited when his music hits. And like, you can also have him like, I think with this gimmick, like you'd have to give him like some sort of submission. And like the only way he'd let go is if like the opponent agrees to like use his Uber rep code. Like that's the only way he'll like fucking let go. And like, I think it'd just be a cool idea overall, like just to cut to his face. after every match, win or lose, just to show how apathetic he is about everything. Like, he's just there to make a check. And so, like, the reason why he's doing this, like, it's going to be revealed later on, like in a vignette, that his entire apartment is just flooded with like empty Amazon boxes. And like, he only wrestles to like supplement his income because like he has an addiction to online shopping and mystery crates. My last, note about this is, I haven't really fully figured it out yet, but I think it'd be rad if he had this thing where like boxes would show up while he's wrestling, and maybe he could like, there'd be like foreign objects in these boxes, and maybe he can cheat with those. So, Pretty D's Tony Nese, internet shopping addict. I think it's a bang count it.
I do think so too. It's much better than Neville's stunt double, which he is now. But,
shit.
I mean, I was watching with somebody who doesn't watch all the time, and he was like, why is Neville like talking different now? And I was like, that is not Neville. That's some other guy. So I overachieved because, spoiler alert, a little foreshadowing. I don't think the mixtape segment's going to go down in the Hall of Fame mixtape segments of, the Virtual Pros history. So I was kind of like, oh man, like this isn't, I got to make up for it. Plus, like, CZW fans is such a big fan of the first episode of this. Like, I was like, oh man, that must have been like really good. And I listened to it today and I was just like, like that's kind of just average me, I guess. So
yeah, I
went really above and beyond with 3 of these. And then the other 4 are just kind of like whatevers, but I'll start with the good ones. The first one, CZW fan, he recommended most of these except for one, but, the first is Summer Rae. Summer Rae, I don't think has been on TV in a really long time at this point.
Yeah, I haven't seen her.
I think she might have been injured at some point and then they just forgot about her. I don't know. I know she's on Divas, but I was thinking.
Fucking doing what? Like, she got injured?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe she wasn't injured. I thought there was like an actual official reason why she couldn't be on TV, but I could just be making that up.
Yeah, maybe.
So I was thinking if they brought her back, that maybe she'd start feeling like out of place because she's a Summer Rae and she's kind of like the old guard as far as women in WWE go now. She was like kind of in the middle where she wasn't exactly during like the slutty mud wrestling diva phase, but she wasn't quite there for like the new like girl revolution phase.
Yeah.
So, I think she might be feeling like out of place and like that she needs to maybe do something to stand out because, you know, she's just like a hot blonde girl and that's not gonna do anything anymore. So I think like, you know, they would just stick her in these vignettes talking to the other women in the locker room or the backstage area, but slowly, like very slowly, she'll start like dropping hints that like in order to separate herself from other people, she's like, what should I get into? So she starts talking about like how she's getting like into Wicca and stuff and like just, you know, like learning spells and magic with a CK instead of just a C. And you know, everybody's just like, that's cool, Summer. And then like, so like, and she could tell it's like not working. So then after a while, you could see her like slowly like dyeing her skin green and like increasing like the length of her nose. And
I almost spit my drink out.
Until instead of like just being like a stereotypical like, you know, regular white person witch, she's like actually trying to make herself look like a real witch. And then, you know, that's about it I have for that. Like, I'm sure that would lead to millions of dollars, so I didn't really think of anything else beyond that point of her transforming herself into like a traditional movie witch as opposed to a Wiccan witch.
Yo, I'm with it. The next one I had is for TJ Perkins. Do you ever wonder what the T stands for in TJ? No? You don't?
No, I don't. No.
I do.
Yeah.
So this branding thing with him and like, you know, 2D graphics or 8-bit graphics and like being into 2D, it kind of really isn't working out for him right now. But as they say, the best gimmicks are like the ones that are turned all the way up, right? And so TJ reveals that the T, in TJ stands for truther. And he comes out as like a conspiracy theorist that the earth is flat. So he's just going to be a flat earth truther. And so he's going to debut like a Paper Mario style championship belt to come out with because he's going to be the flat earth champion. Shout out to Richard Jefferson. And so like, since he's a cruiserweight and since he's wrestling on 205 Live, maybe you have him walk out every time someone like Grand Metalik like hits a high flying maneuver just because he thinks gravity is witchcraft. Like, just have him take like the fucking count out loss, right? I mean, he kind of fits the part perfectly, right? Like, he's kind of a man with like a fairly smug face.
Yeah.
He has a faux hawk in 2017 and he wears Jordans with no style. And so I think this is like the perfect outfit for like your modern day conspiracy theorist, right? And so, I think this whole flat earth thing, like, it might not have legs, but maybe have him allude to other stuff, in the wrestling world. Like, maybe he knows, like, how many people really attended WrestleMania 3, or like, was there really 2 Ultimate Warriors? Or like, why did a face Hogan eliminate a heel Sid? Like, he's the perfect internet, like, wrestling, like, guy that people can get behind. And so I think if you're dropping these kind of gems, the internet will, like, probably get behind you at some point.
Yeah. I honestly think that's like a very modern, nuanced gimmick that I think he could do. And I think that would actually work, like, realistically. I think if they did something like that, cause it'd basically be like the modern version of, when Matt Hardy was Matt version 2.0 and they dropped like the Matt facts. If they just did something like that with him where he was just dropping like all of these wrestling gems, like exposing the secrets.
Yo, TJ, if you're listening, man, I got ideas.
Yeah, and just like, threatening to expose all the secrets until he got like a title shot or something. I think that'd be pretty good.
Plus that dude is like, I guess he had some really hot Gamergate takes, and so like he is like super into this whole internet like thing, so
yeah.
I think it works.
Okay, my next one is for a man named Oni Lorcan, something like that.
Yeah.
This guy, he used to be a man named Biff Busick, I believe, and see, this is where I'm at a disadvantage for this guy, cause I think I may have seen one match when he was Biff Busick.
Yeah.
And I wasn't like, it didn't blow my dick back or anything. It was just a match. So I mean, his gimmick in NXT since day one has been jobber, and sometimes they like let him talk or be on a winning team, but like they're literally doing nothing with this guy. And I don't know, maybe he stutters. Like, I don't know what the problem is where, I mean, they gave the fucking drifter shit to do. That guy sucks. Like, it's crazy that this wrestler who's supposed to be a great wrestler can't do shit. But I was like, and he has this dumb name, and it's like hard to say. I don't know how to spell it. And it just seems like he was just sabotaged since day one. And I think that should kind of be his gimmick, where he's just such a forgettable guy now that they start like literally forgetting him. And they do stuff like they can retool his Twitter and Instagram and whatever social media he has to like only say he has like 27 followers, and it's just like all bots. And like even if you try and follow him, it just doesn't work. So it just always looks like he's a loser. And the announcer will like forget like facts about him on the way to the ring. Like they'll be like, hailing from, USA, Oni Larkin, and like just pronouncing his name wrong, and like the announcer is doing all this shit wrong. And he's just like, but slowly cause he would just basically be like the ultimate underdog basically. And so he would slowly build up to where like, I'm going to make you remember my name, and he'll start like winning matches, and maybe he wins the belt either by a fluke or he really wins it. And then like, then it's like everybody's going crazy for him, and he's like, fuck you guys. You guys were never there for me. I had 27 fucking followers on Twitter. You weren't saying shit about Oni Larkin before I had this belt. And then he just turns in like the worst bad guy. This is $1 million idea. And like this guy is doing absolutely nothing. So anybody out there listening to this in the New York office in Stamford, like do something, like make this guy the ultimate unforgettable underdog and just build him up until he wins a title and becomes an absolute asshole over it. It is like such a fucking money gimmick. So just do it.
It's kind of a bummer because like the times I've seen him live, he's been super good, and he might have had the best match of the night.
Yeah.
I was trying to make an Oni Larkin gimmick, and the only thing I came up with was Scrabble Champion. But other than that, I didn't know where to go with it because his name is super weird.
Yeah.
The last one I had was for Apollo Crews, and I know that nothing will ever beat Apollo Crews, Pyramid Scheme Man.
Yeah.
But, it's the way to go. But they're WWE's kind of biting New Japan's whole swag with like, doing the Balor Club and having Gallows and Anderson team up. And so I really think that they should just go all the way and, bite New Japan by making Apollo Crews Captain WWE. Like they should just put him like in a full body suit. Like no one likes Apollo Crews. No one likes Captain New Japan. Like it just seems like kind of like a perfect match. And so maybe put him in a full body suit and just have him lose all the time. Like nothing's really changing, but I think Captain WWE has a little bit more potential than Apollo Crews. I don't know.
Or Apollo Crews.
Yeah, man.
I'll have some other horrible gimmicks for Apollo Crews later, but I think that one's pretty good. My last really great one is for Drew Gulak. This one, like, he would have to leave the WWE for a while. They would need to repackage him in this gimmick. But I think he can really pull off being like a younger single dad. Maybe not a single dad, but a younger dad. Basically like a younger dad who takes on a job as a little league coach because he wants to be like closer to his son. But he also like had a kid when he was young, so he's just like begrudgingly doing it basically, where he's just like, I have to try and, you know, be on this kid's level or whatever. He's in my life. Like, I got to do this shit. And so it's like revealed that basically like this little league shit's driving him insane because he's like fucking, he has to deal with these shitty kids and he's still like unsure if he even likes his own kid. So it's just like he does wrestling as a release, but he still always loses. The only thing so it's like everything else is the same. They would just mention this stuff in the background. He would still dress like how he dresses right now. But you know, he'd still like have basically the same record he has now, where he's kind of like, he definitely loses a lot more than he wins. But then every once in a while, like just, you know, out of the blue, like every like, you know, 7th episode of 205 Live that he's on, he like comes to the ring in like his little league coach uniform, but he's like all fucking drunk and he's just like unshaven and he's just like dragging a bat to the ring and he just looks like a fucking total piece of shit. And then he just whips the shit out of like anybody that he's wrestling. Like he just fucking dominates them just with all like brawling maneuvers and just beats the shit out of them. And then maybe, I mean, depending on what level rating we're at by the time this happens, maybe he beats him with the bat a little too. And, yeah, so Drew Gulak, frustrated little league coach, I think is a fucking amazing gimmick.
I think the vignettes would be incredible of like him in his car with like just rappers of like, I don't know, like,
like Big
Egg
Macs
McMuffin rappers. Yeah. They should definitely do that. I'd be a fan of Drew Gulak. They can like make baseball jerseys for him, like the 3/4 sleeve joints. I don't know. Yeah. My throwaway ideas were, Liv Morgan, mall worker, where maybe they can do some cross promotion with like Cinnabon, where she wears like the apron and like she has like a Zoomies hat. I don't know. Maybe make some money with Liv Morgan that way. And my last note was a Heath Slater weekend MMA guy. That was all I had.
I had somebody, requested Cedric Alexander, so I used that one. Cedric Alexander, I saw his last ROH match in person and, he made like a farewell speech at the end of the match and I was sitting like right near the wrestler entrance. And so when he walked by me, he was crying and I was like, whoa, dude. Yeah. Like, I know it's an emotional thing, but it's like, I don't know. I'm uncomfortable. I'm an uncomfortable.
I thought they did him dirty too. Why was he so sad? I don't know. I don't watch ROH, but that's what I
think, you know, when you're in the moment. Yeah. I think when you're in the moment and you're just like, you're going to miss your friends. And then like, can't remember exactly, but I think he got a little emotional after the Kota Ibushi match where like Triple H came out. So that should just be his gimmick. He should just be the dude that cries way too much. Like it starts out as like a very emotional thing. Like maybe he cries after he wins the title and people are like, oh man, like he's super fucking into it. That's crazy. But then he's just like crying at everything. Like he's like crying at when they do those like Be a Bully campaign segments. But then he's just like crying at like, you know, just other dumb stuff, like just talking about something and crying. And people just get really uncomfortable. I think that would work for him.
Like, I kind of get that vibe from, like, DeMarcus Cousins. Like, I imagine him, like, as the kid that would fight so hard and, like, he'd, like, fight so hard he'd start crying. And so maybe, like, when Cedric Alexander, like, goes on, like, a hot streak, like, he's just, like, beating someone's ass, but he's, like, crying at the same time. I'd root for that guy. That'd be okay. Yeah.
Next up is Jinder Mahal. This guy's body is insane and it just doesn't even look like it looks like he's the only man on earth that has 0.0% body fat. Like his skin is so fucking tight.
His body looks like the top of a Snickers bar. It is fucking weird. Yeah, it's crazy.
So this isn't much of a gimmick, but they should just slap on like one of those, human anatomy dummy, like things that would be in like science class. They should just make him wear like, the anatomical man, that's what I'm trying to think of. He should just wear like an anatomical man bodysuit, much like Slim Goodbody too, and that would be cool. Because I mean, he would fit it out so well, he'd look fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Next one is Tyler Bate. This is so fucking slam dunk that I can't believe they haven't done this, but this boy, I think he just turned 20, but before that, he's legitimately a 19-year-old boy. And he looks like a man, though. He doesn't look like a fucking 19-year-old punk, obviously.
Mm-mm.
And, so I don't know why they don't do some kind of Shazam thing with him where, like, where, like, he's actually supposed to be like a 12-year-old boy, and he does, or maybe like a 15-year-old boy, and he does like like the 15-year-old boy does like the interviews, the post-match interviews, and then he's like, excuse me, I have a match to get to. And then he like goes in a room and he comes out as Tyler Bate. Like, maybe they like shake the camera a little and like smoke comes up from the door, and it's just like, oh man, he's like, he's some mythical guy. I think that would work. Last is Apollo Crews. I have a few for him because I was like, nothing's gonna beat that other one, but
nah.
The first one is a real, like, I really think they should do this with him. This isn't a funny thing at all. But he should really just be the muscle of 205 Live for, like, Neville, because he's familiar with half the people that, maybe even more than half the people that are on 205 Live are, like, people he's wrestled a million times. And, he's basically a cruiserweight that's just a little too heavy. So have him be, like, Neville's bodyguard or something. I think that would work.
Yeah.
But fake ones, I think, since, like, no one's ever gonna like him, I think what they should do is just like maybe at WrestleMania, like AJ Styles. I don't know if it would work with AJ Styles. It might have to be somebody even more beloved than AJ Styles, but have him like substitute for somebody at WrestleMania, like last minute. No one knows. Like people are just like blown away. Like what the fuck's going on? Why is he substituting? Like it wasn't in any of the quote unquote dirt sheets or anything. Like he just shows up last second and they're like, oh, so and so's injured. Apollo Crews is going to take over from, and have him just win like this crazy match he's not supposed to. And I think people, like every nerd their fucking heads would explode, and he would like instantly be the talk of the town after that, because like people would be like, what the fuck is going on? Why did they have Apollo Crews beat Roman Reigns or whoever the fuck? And like, I think that would be amazing. My most ridiculous one though is, they should make him a sleeper cell and just like start like a rumor like, oh, there's a sleeper cell in the WWE. And, we have intel that he's out to assassinate Vince McMahon. And then no one knows who it is though, much like Hornswoggle's father. And then, like they maybe like the whole payoff is that Vince McMahon is out and he's like throwing a hissy fit and he goes, "You're fired" to Apollo Crews, and that is Apollo Crews' passcode to be released from his sleeper cell, and he assassinates Vince McMahon. And because no one would suspect that. I think that's great.
That was our rebrand episode, part 2. If you have any good ones, email us at virtualpros64@gmail.com. Up next, I guess a pretty subpar VRTL mixtape with Blitzkrieg, Juventud Guerrera, Livewire, Dino, I think his first appearance, and Mr. Pogo. Please stay tuned. It's actually good. I'm just kidding. For real, stay tuned. I'm just kidding.
Lay it down, baby, just be my man. Longest, lay it down, baby, just be my man. Longest, lay it down, baby, just be my man, be my man. Longest, it's all that matters to me. Longest, lay it down, baby, just be my man.
All right, we are back here with the Virtual Pros mixtape. If you don't know how this works, we got a little playlist on YouTube. You can subscribe to us at VRTL Pros. or just search Virtual Mixtape on YouTube, Virtual Pros Mixtape on YouTube, and it'll pop up. And we review 4 matches every episode, 2 that I picked and 2 that Al picked. So this week, I went into, my watch later section of my personal YouTube. So I don't know, usually that's where I stick stuff that listeners recommend, but I might have put this in there. It was a long time ago, either way. But it's, Dino, Danshuku Dino versus, Kira Tozawa. This is, from something called Biden, which I think was just like a vanity promotion from 2007 that just put on one show. I kind of chose this just because A, Dino is not on this list yet, and B, Tozawa is kind of the talk of the town in 205 Live right now, and he deserves it. He's a very entertaining person. So if you are one of the rare people that listen to this and weren't familiar with Tozawa beforehand, maybe you have a chance to check this out because it's a pretty wacky match. Dino, for you guys who don't know, is a very, I wouldn't say openly gay, because I honestly don't know if the guy is gay or not, or it's just an act, but he's a very gay wrestler, basically. He wrestles like he is gay, and he does a lot of cock grabbing and kissing and butt fucking and stuff like that. And, I discovered Dino, like, right at the end of my tape trading cycle, or else I'd probably have tons of this guy's stuff, because the first time I saw his gimmick, I just thought it was an ingenious money-making gimmick. Just, wrestling's pretty homoerotic thing as it is, so just being like super homoerotic is just right up my alley. And so I was always like enamored by this guy, but I never really watched a lot of his stuff just because it was at the end of me like really tracking this stuff down. And like I said, this is Tozawa when he was younger. This is 2007. And I mean, it's a little different. Like, he looked different back then. He was doing some weird kind of more Japanesey gimmick. I don't know what kind of guy he was supposed to be, but either way, there's a lot of cock touching in this match. It starts off with a lot of cock touching sequences. And basically the story of this match is that Dino pretty much makes every wrestler he fights uncomfortable by doing all this gay stuff to them. And so the kind of story of this match is that, like, Tozawa is uncomfortable for a little while, but then he's like, I'm just gonna be gay too. And he starts doing gay stuff to Dino. And, so it becomes like this big gay off. And I mean, like, podcasting 101, anything 101, it is really dumb to do, some kind of comedy thing where you're recapping something else that's comedy, because it just doesn't work. It's not funny when you're recapping stuff that's comedy. So although I think you should watch this match, especially if you're not familiar with either of these guys, you should definitely watch this match because it's fucking amazing. But it's like, it's hard to talk about. I will say, I'll highlight, there's a section where, Dino basically simulates teabagging Tozawa for a few minutes, and, he then pins Tozawa, but Tozawa kicks out at 1, and Dino acts so perplexed that, somebody would kick out from a teabagging after 1, but I guess maybe he thought a teabagging would put Tozawa away, and I thought that was cute. And they keep on taking their pants off until they had smaller and smaller pants. I don't know. This is a great 5-minute match. It's fucking great. I just don't have much to say about it. Check it out, though, if you haven't. What do you think, Al?
Man, so Tozawa looks like a huge piece of shit here. So, like, I watched that yesterday, and today I got a salad, and I was like, you know what? Hold those croutons. I don't want that complimentary bread. I'm good. Because he's in great shape now, but before, I mean, he wasn't like a total, like, obese man, but he looks so much, like, healthier now. And so before, I don't know, it just makes it look crazy. So say you're a wrestler, like, who do you think you'd be more bummed out to wrestle if you walked to the arena that day? Would you be more bummed out to wrestle Shibata or Dino?
I'd probably Shibata, I think.
Yeah, me too. Like, but do you think other wrestlers feel the same way, or they're just like, you know what? I'd rather wrestle Shibata.
Yeah, I don't really know, because I've always heard, not that this is a good thing at all, but I've always heard that homosexuality in Japan is kind of like, it's like a joke to them, basically, where it's like, you know, it's
hard
like a
gay,
comedy.
Razor Ramon, yeah.
Yeah, it's like kind of like a comedy act to them, so it's like, we're in a different climate than that. You can't pull that here. I think a lot of people would be upset. But at the same time, like, it is really funny, so I don't know.
Yeah, makes me laugh.
Yeah. So I don't know if, like, so basically, I wouldn't know if Japanese wrestlers are bummed out just because it's kind of like an embarrassing thing to them or what. I'm sure like American wrestlers are down with it because I'm sure any American wrestler that would want to wrestle Dino is very familiar with him. And I think he kind of made Joey Ryan's career, so I'm sure he's fucking fine with it.
Yeah, I thought about that too, because he did that whole thing where like he's using his dick as like a way to submit the other person. And so Joey Ryan, you owe some royalties, my man.
I think that's the original clip is because, Dino's been doing that since like 2002 or whatever. And the original clip that went viral for Joey Ryan was ironically against Dino.
Oh, that's right.
And it's just like, yeah, dude, you owe like your entire career to this guy twice, basically.
Yeah, I don't know. Not really into the whole Joey Ryan thing. So my 2 picks were just kind of things that I was wondering whether or not they held up. Spoiler alert, kind of didn't. So I found this clip of Jim Ross on Livewire. It's like under 2 minutes long. And this clip, I guess it's an episode with Jim Ross and Vince Russo hosting. Vince Russo is wearing the weirdest like fucking button up I've ever seen in my life. Like he has like this thing that's covering up the buttons. I don't know. I can't describe it. It's really weird. It's like a Jet Li, like Lethal Weapon 4 shirt, but not. And like Jim Ross is wearing a Diet Coogee sweater. It's really, really like surreal to see. And so the first call that they take, which is the best part of the whole video, is like this kid, and he's letting Jim Ross know, like very nervously, that he followed him through WCW and that he thinks that Goldust is going to beat Triple H. I don't know what pay-per-view it is, but you know, who cares? And Jim Ross cannot hang. And it's like only like 14 seconds and he hangs up on him. He's just pissed. This clip is under 2 minutes long and salty Jim Ross is like incredible to watch. And I kind of hear bad things about his whole live show, but if it's anything like this, I might go if the tickets are comped. What'd you think?
Yeah, I have never seen Livewire before. So I don't know what the context of this was. Was this on television?
Yeah, it was on USA. Like, I think it was in that, like, Superstar slot on, at 10 o'clock in the morning. I remember, like, Paul Heyman called in one time, and this was, like, kind of in line with when I got into, like, weird internet scoops, like, culture. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of revolutionary, I feel like, but, yeah.
Was it just a call-in show, or did they show matches, too?
It was just a call-in show.
Wow, that's so weird. Yeah. So I don't really know the context of this, but yeah, Jim Ross is just like, all I wrote down is Jim Ross just ethering everyone. But like, it's so weird because he is like instantly salty. And I know there was like, what people forget when they bring it up is that when they made fake Razor Ramon and fake Diesel, it was like it was supposed to be a heel Jim Ross angle where he was a bad guy. And that's the only thing I can think of because I can't imagine them letting somebody be this angry on television with children for one. And just like in general, like I can understand. It's just like the kid calls and the kid's just nervous. It is the average like wrestling observer call, basically. Some fucking nerdist jittery asshole shouldn't be on the phone talking. And Jim Ross is having none of it. He's just like, fuck this, hang up. And there's another call it shitty, and then like somebody like talks about like Roddy Piper and how he wrestled at Super Brawl or whatever, you know, on a WWF show, and Jim Ross just like handles it. Like he's just like, yeah, he had a replacement hip and I fell asleep during that match, and it's just like, damn, dude. Like, yeah. This is a pretty sweet show. I gotta look for more clips of this, like just to see what the anger levels are usually on this show, because it seemed, I don't know, it seems pretty dangerous to take live calls on the air either way, but yeah, definitely check this out if you haven't seen it, because it's an interesting 2 minutes.
You probably like the Paul Heyman clip too. It's on there. It's pretty good.
Was that the whole gimmick of the show where they're like, this is a shoot? Is it something like that?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So I chose, my last match is Mr. Pogo versus Tenryu from War, Wrestle and Romance from, almost April 20th, one day off, unfortunately, 1996. I chose this because, I don't even remember. It was a couple weeks ago. I know half of the reason I chose is because Mr. Pogo's in it. And I am always like transfixed with Mr. Pogo because he's such a weird shaped man. And, like, you know, I was introduced, like most people in the world, I was introduced to Mr. Pogo when he was wrestling in the 90s, where he was already a 45-year-old man. And it wasn't until recently that I found out that he was like one of the first graduates, or maybe even the first graduate from the New Japan Dojo. So I'm always just like, is Mr. Pogo just a shitty wrestler, or is it just because he's old? So I was like, this is probably a good match to see if he's just a shitty wrestler. And, but I mean, he's still 45 and he's a weird shaped man. Like he wasn't always that weird shape. So I have a feeling like it's still hard to tell. I think I try to look for his old matches on, New Japan World and there isn't any. Like I don't think footage of him as non-Mr. Pogo exists at this point. But, either way, and this ended up just being a very bizarre video. Like this is, Mr. Pogo still sucks. Like the most remedial moves he fucking sucks at. There's a part where Tenru tries to throw him back into the ring and he fucks that up. Like he has to like stop and like basically throw his leg over the apron to get back in the ring like the fattest boy ever. And it's real embarrassing. The only thing Mr. Pogo excels at is pulling out his sickle and giant kitchen knife and stabbing Tenru with it. And then this is like, that's at like minute 4. They're having like some bullshit brawling before that. And then for the last minute, Tenru just starts slapping the shit out of Mr. Pogo, like slapping his chest. And while I'm watching it, this is like all real time thoughts. I'm like, I think this is the hardest I've ever seen Mr. Pogo get hit. Cause like, he's not, you watch his FMW matches, he's not doing a lot of taking the hits, basically. He's doing a lot of walking around and not getting hit a lot. And so I'm like, man, I wonder if he's like getting pissed at this. And then Tenru's throwing some punches that don't look super hard, but you know, again, like Mr. Pogo doesn't get beat up ever. And then all of a sudden, Mr. Pogo just walks out of the ring and he tries to talk on the mic. He tries to say, "Fuck you, Tenru!" But the microphone doesn't work, so he just throws it down and he fucking leaves. And I know it had to be an angle. Like, I know it wasn't a shoot, brother, but like, it's so bizarre because he just leaves and he walks into the locker room and then they show he was also seconded by, Mr. Pogo Jr., aka Mr. Pogo Part 2. And so they just show him looking around like, shit, man, I don't know. And like Tenru's looking around like, I don't know either. And then, yeah, like they ring the bell and they're like, you know, Tenru wins by countout. His music plays and he's like, fuck this. And he grabs Mr. Pogo Jr. and he beats the shit out of him, like pretty hard. And, they just show Mr. Pogo, like if this was WWE and they were like, fuck this, I'm leaving the arena, it would be so fake. He would leave in his like, you know, his wrestler panties. He wouldn't like grab anything. He would just get in his rental car and leave. Mr. Pogo is actually like walking out of the arena with his like duffel bag of stuff, like into the back of a taxi and then pulling away. And it's just like, whoa, this is like so insanely detailed just for some bullshit angle of Mr. Pogo. And I don't know like what the deal was, what the whole entire story was of this match, but it was worth the watch for sure. Like it's not the best match. Mr. Pogo still sucks at actual wrestling, but like it was such a bizarre thing to watch and not have any previous knowledge of it, which I just ruined for anybody who wants to watch it, but it's still worth watching, I think.
So my first note, Genichiro Tenru, owner of the longest pair of underwear mankind has ever seen. Do you think this was made by design, or do you think Tenru has like a Hank Hill butt? Like, is it like that long? I don't know. Who knows?
I've never noticed that, so I don't know. I'm gonna have to like look at more older wrestling men to see if their underwear is longer now.
He has very tall panties. It's really weird. And so, my other note was that, I always wonder if like it was Tenru himself that was like responsible for making two of the like, the most fire like Federation logos of all time, SWS and, War. Yeah. If you see the R, it might look familiar if you are a fan of the VRTL pros, but SWS had like a fucking dinosaur. And so I don't know if it was like Tenru himself, but like he's always been associated with like really like solid branding.
Yeah. It's so weird because he looks like the most serious, like dry man ever.
Yeah.
But he's responsible for some of the weirdest matchups in like the history of Japan. And yeah, it's so odd because he doesn't seem that style at all, but he made like War is just, if you guys aren't familiar, it is just, yeah, it is like playing Fire Pro, but in real life with 90s wrestlers, basically. It's pretty ridiculous.
I think you're kind of underselling the punching part because I think Tenru fucking duffs Mr. Pogo. Like,
maybe he does. I don't know.
There was a slap noise and I didn't see him. I mean, doesn't seem like the type to slap himself when he's like trying to like strike. And so, when that happened and when Mr. Pogo dipped, like I went on Google and I was like, was this a shoot? Like, I don't know if Mr. Pogo was for real mad, but I think what for sure happened is Tenru really punched him. I think that really happened. And so, Tenru's always been a guy that, like, I slept on, but, like, the older I get and the deeper I'm getting back into wrestling, he's kind of a guy that, like, I really fuck with a lot. Like, he wrestled Pogo. Like, his match with Hayabusa is really good. I watched the Macho Man match. I think we put on the mixtape a couple of episodes ago. That was really solid. And so Tenru, man, aging like fine wine. I like that guy a lot. But yeah, my last note, Mr. Pogo, still a piece of shit. He is so bad at wrestling. And I didn't know he was a graduate of the dojo. Like, it'd be kind of funny to think that he was actually trying to take wrestling seriously because I couldn't tell. Oh, also, were you sort of weirded out when he pulled out his knife and the first thing he went for was Tenru's shoe?
Yeah, that was kind of lame, man. Like, but I was like, I don't think Tenru's down with getting sliced so much. But well, first off, he graduated in 1973. It was a long fucking time ago. But
yeah.
But also, yeah, like, that's why the other thing that made me think it might have been real is because, like, Mr. Pogo has this gimmick and image of being a guy who fights death matches in fire and fucking glass and shit. So why would he be so afraid of punches? So that was the other thing where I was like, maybe it is real. I don't know.
Yo, DVDVR, if you're listening, like, I know this was on Dean's list for some reason, I think. I was looking it up because I was unsure.
Yeah, I was Googling too. Yeah.
So, like, I'm gonna lean towards shoot, man. I think Tenru really fucking duffed him, or he tried to, like, humiliate him for no reason. Who knows? Crazy match. I liked it because it was just such a spectacle.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was episode 37 of the
Hey, man, you forgot about the last match, you dummy.
Oh my god. I haven't done that in a while. The last match of the night is Juventud GUERRERA, because I was just so caught up in fucking Tenru, man. Just ended on a high note. We should have ended there. The last match of the night, Juventud GUERRERA versus Blitzkrieg. Spring Stampede 4/11/99. Mike, do you, like, remember when the Blitzkrieg hype started? Like, when he debuted? Like, do you recall this at all?
Yeah.
Like, I remember, like, people were freaking out, and I was like, well, it's just this guy that probably played a lot of, like, Virtual Pro 1 and, like, lifted the moves. Like, what he's doing is, like, impressive, but, like, I've already seen it. But I remember people were freaking out. I guess it was cool because it was on Nitro, and so I guess that was
it was partly that, and, like, I mean, for the time, not so much anymore, but for the time, his outfit was insane. So, like, I think that had a lot to do with it, too.
Yeah, that outfit doesn't hold up to this day. 2017.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, that shit looks fucking bad.
Yeah.
He's wrestling Juventud GUERRERA, and on his butt, Juventud has "Juice for Real," which is such a cool slogan. I'm with that. I actually looked up, like, if Juventud had any merch, and if I found a "Juice for Real" shirt, immediate cop. So this match starts off kind of slow. Juventud hits a pretty solid dive to the outside, but at the 7-minute mark, Blitzkrieg, he goes through, like, this crossbody to the outside, and Hoovy just drop kicks the soul out of Blitzkrieg. It's an incredible moment. Like, you see this move happen, like, all the time where people will come off the top rope and you know they're prepping to take a blow. But I don't know if Blitzkrieg knew he was going to get drop kicked. It's fucking insane. I'm pretty unimpressed by Blitzkrieg, like, halfway through, and I was, like, wondering why, like, he was so hyped at the time. But at the 8-minute mark, he reminds me, and he hits this slingshot Asai moonsault off the top rope. And I've only seen Taka Michinoku do this, but anytime anyone ever hits this move, it's always, like, so breathtaking to see. Blitzkrieg, he later on fucks up a move from the top rope, and Bobby Heenan, he tries to cover it up like the professional he is by saying, a lot of times a man is so sweaty, he's wet, he's hard to hold on to, and it's hard to get a good grasp. And that's what she said. Holy shit at the finish. Juventud, he hits a top rope Michinoku driver, spoiler alert, and he spikes Blitzkrieg. Fun match. I recommend it. What'd you think, Mike?
Yeah, this is pretty good. I do remember the Blitzkrieg hype, and I mean, given the time, I could see why his moveset was ridiculous. I read on his Wikipedia that supposedly that was Jack Evans' inspiration to become a wrestler, and
yeah,
I completely see that now. And yeah, he was this guy who just wrestled and retired after a few years of wrestling and became like a computer guy and never looked back. And it's pretty ridiculous because, you know, he was so hyped for a minute. I mean, he only was wrestling for a couple years on the independents, and then he went to WCW, and it wasn't like, you know, he's not going to be a top star there, but he was pretty popular as far as the cruiserweights went. So it's pretty crazy that he walked away. Yeah, that slingshot moonsault is pretty insane, and I even rewound it because I was just like, holy shit, man.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is. Like, I honestly just think it's like the camera work. I think it's like a perfect storm of the camera work and just the pacing that makes, I mean, I've said this every time we review these, but like it just makes the pacing of those cruiserweight matches better as far as spot fests, as they're called. As far as those goes, like I just think it's like it just works way better than anything I see that's newer. Even if the newer stuff is more advanced, I don't know, it just doesn't work as well to me. Maybe it's nostalgia too. I don't know. I don't really have that big of nostalgic feelings for either Juventud or Blitzkrieg though, so I don't think that's it. And yeah, that Hoovy driver off the top rope is fucking, yeah, it's so crazy. And I don't, like, first off, I don't think many people would agree to do that, and I don't think many people would be able to physically do that, so hands off to Blitzkrieg. And that's what's crazy about it, like, I don't know anything about this guy. I don't know if he was just like a fucking maniac for 4 years of his life, and he was just like, I'm gonna move on to something else. Or maybe, you know, he secretly was like, I could already tell I'm not gonna have a back in 2 years, so I should quit now. Like, it's just so odd that he just went away after being such a bombastic wrestler. But yeah, it's a pretty good match. Also, I did not even need to look at the rest of the card of Spring Stampede to just completely safely assume this has to be the best match on Spring Stampede. I don't know. I don't even know what year it is, but I mean, there might be like a Benoit match on there that might be good, but yeah, as soon as like the network started, I was like, oh man, I'm gonna watch all these WCW pay-per-views. They had all these cool wrestlers. And then like I looked and yeah, like WCW had real bad luck with pay-per-views where they were all kind of shitty. So I'm sure this one is no different.
Well, I noticed that they were running with like the new school WCW logo, and I knew like off top that show was going to be trash, but I was pretty surprised that Juventud and Blitzkrieg was pretty decent.
Yeah.
That was episode 37 of the Virtual Pros podcast. If you want to hit us, please do so at virtualpros64@gmail.com. Hit us on Instagram and Twitter at VRTLPros. Hit us on SoundCloud. Hit that heart. You know I like it. Leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. It helps with the algorithms, I heard. Shout out to the AIW podcast. Mike, are you excited for VirtualCon 2017?
Yes, please come to VirtualCon May 6th in Chicago.
Yo, hit us up ASAP.